Hey, what's up, folks? Welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Melvin.
Bryce.
Michael.
Ricardo.
And welcome to The Way We Play.
And today we're just gonna, let's just start with games that we're excited that are coming out soon or are about to come out. So what games are you excited for?
Oh, I really do not keep up with the games that are coming out soon. I just kind of browse Steam and see what's on sale.
All right, awesome.
Well, I'm excited for Beyond Good and Evil 2 coming out in February.
All right.
No clue. I keep forgetting what I'm excited about, but once I see it again, I will be excited about. But the only thing that's in my mind is the new Pokemon games. Waiting for them to release Pokemon Crystal on Virtual Console.
Have they not released that yet?
No.
Oh, God.
Really?
So they released Gold and Silver, but they did not release Crystal.
I want Crystal. That's the only version
Everybody knows.
desire.
Yeah, Crystal's the best one. I bet Nintendo's just waiting so that people buy it. And then, I'm personally excited for Cuphead. Oh, that game's already out, but I want to get it. I want to get it soon. And then I'm also excited for A Hat in Time. That's also coming out soon. That game was a Kickstarter game, and it's looking pretty good, and it's going to be released pretty soon. And then the SNES Classic is out right now, so I don't know if I'm going to get that one. I really don't know. I guess I'm just going to wait around the holidays to see what the reception of that game is, because I kind of want to play Star Fox 2 just anywhere around the house. You know, that to me just seems awesome. I'm a huge Star Fox fan. One of my first games I ever played. Yeah, one of my first games I ever played was Star Fox 64. One of my first consoles I ever played was Star Fox 64. So I'm just super excited for that game personally. So, yeah.
As a kid, I got really turned off to the Star Fox franchise because of bad Star Fox games on the GameCube.
Yeah. You really shouldn't start with the GameCube one. You have to start with the N64 one. And unfortunately, the 3DS Star Fox game, that has gone up in price. So it's kind of hard to find a copy of that unless you're willing to get a digital download version. So, just get that if you really want to play the Star Fox. That's the definitive edition. No one really likes the Wii U version, from what I can tell. I haven't played it. I really do want to play it. Just as a Star Fox fan, I really do want to play it. But I'm really scared, too, because if it ruins the franchise for me, I don't know what I'll do with myself. So let's just get into something really quick, because I don't think this is going to be a huge conversation, but Tomb Raider got a trailer recently. So if you guys don't know, Tomb Raider is a series that started off on the PlayStation 1. It actually started off on a PC and the Sega Saturn, but most people remember it on the PlayStation 1, because obviously that was the most popular console around the late 90s, so everyone just remembers it there. So Tomb Raider 2018. Do any of you guys have experiences with past Tomb Raider movies? Because there have been some. I think 2003 with Angelina Jolie.
I know FX would screen that a lot when I was homesick from school, and I'd just be like, what is I don't know. Even back then, it wasn't good.
Mm-hmm. Well, to be honest, I haven't seen any of the Tomb Raider films. Maybe sometimes, I think they passed on TV once, random times. I don't remember, somewhere when I was younger. But I don't recall many of them. But what I do remember, I guess, is you know what, it's okay-ish. I didn't know they were based off a video game so much later. And even then, I'm not too much familiar with the Tomb Raider series. But the new trailer that came out, that one looks pretty good for a movie, and also a balance of games too. It looks pretty much the footage of what I've seen could look like it could be also gameplay-ish kind of.
Well, they can't be any worse than modern adaptations of animated movies.
Yeah.
That's a whole different conversation.
Let's not talk about that.
That is a deep hole right there.
I gotta stop starting stuff.
Anyway, I was gonna say the problem with the old Tomb Raider movie is that they tried to make it too much like Indiana Jones and didn't stick to the source material. At the end, they talked about anti-life. It was a whole thing with my friends. Yeah. Anyway, terrible movie. I have high hopes for the new one, though. It looked good.
So, meme level bad.
Very, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I've never seen... There's actually 2 Tomb Raider movies, if you guys didn't know.
Yeah.
I haven't seen either of them, just because, every time it was on TV, it just never caught my interest. I would see it for 1 minute, and I was like, it doesn't look bad, but I just didn't really care for it. I never really cared about the Tomb Raider series. The only time I started caring about the Tomb Raider series was I think it was the anniversary game, and it came out on HD consoles and PlayStation 2, and it basically just made Tomb Raider 1 playable, because I cannot play the first Tomb Raider on the PlayStation 1. I just think the controls are bad. But the Tomb Raider on the PS2 and those other consoles, phenomenal. Controls are perfect. So I do love it. I did see the trailer. Honestly, I think like movie trailers in general are just way too generic. They don't make the movie look interesting enough. So I do not let the trailer kind of define what I think of the movie. I just sort of, make it a first impression, and it's just like, let's see what happens.
Have you played any of the newer Tomb Raider games?
I have them. I just haven't played them.
Yeah.
I haven't, but they do look phenomenal. So maybe they will make it like the newer Tomb Raider games, because those were really... They did a really nice job of developing the character. Like, the character had story. The first Tomb Raider game, it kind of didn't focus on the story. It was just kind of focusing on the fun and adventure side of it.
Yeah.
But the Tomb Raider games by Square Enix, they sort of focused on, like, the uprising of Lara Croft, sort of how she developed as a character. So I kind of hope they do that. And I think that's what they're going for, because that's why they're trying to make the movie in the first place, is to sort of get that feel of the new Tomb Raider games.
Kind of as a segue, you talked about Square Enix, and we were talking about games that we're excited for.
Yeah.
Life is Strange, the prequel. What are your guys' thoughts? It's not going to have Chloe in it, or it's going to have Chloe in it, not Max.
Doesn't that kind of...
Chloe and Rachel.
I think as long as they improve the story...
So it's not going to have any time travel. I'm going to be confused about that.
Doesn't that kind of like revoke one of the core mechanics that made the game? It's a Telltale game. People will buy it.
Yeah.
Well, not Telltale, but
it's
that
same
style.
premise, yeah.
Well, like, whenever I see that style of game, I always think of Heavy Rain. And Heavy Rain really set the mark on, like, just, like, how good those type of games can be. And what really set me off of Life is Strange is honestly the story is just weird. It's just all over
I didn't
the
like
place.
the ending, but it was a cool concept.
Honestly, so you have to nail the story.
Yeah, I'm hoping
in order for it to be good. So
exactly.
as long as they do that, honestly, then they have a perfect game in my eyes. So I hope that's all I hope for. And I'm not going to play the first one again just to play the prequel. I'm personally not going to do that. So I'm just going to play the prequel when it comes out and see what impressions it gives me.
Quick little debate. What hooks you in more on a game? Mechanics or story? Because personally for me, I am a hardcore, if the game has good mechanics, I don't care how bad the story is kind of guy.
Yeah, honestly, mechanics.
It honestly depends if it's a multiplayer or a single-player game.
That is true, too.
If it's a multiplayer game, I think I care more about mechanics. Because if it's a bad mechanical game, but the story's good, I don't care. It's a multiplayer game. I was looking for the mechanics.
Yeah, but like games like Dark Souls and games in that vein that are single player and very mechanically driven.
Well, I've never gotten any far.
For me, mostly it has been mechanics. But the one game where that kind of the two games, well, obviously one of them was Heavy Rain. I really did get invested in the story. And then Undertale was the second game where it was just like I got so invested in the characters that I just wanted to see what happened more than learning how to play the game. So, yeah.
Yeah, because if you like the story of it, but yet the mechanics doesn't allow you to progress to the game, then you can't really like either of them, because you want to know what happens in the story, but the mechanics don't allow you to progress, and so it's like you're kind of stuck in that point. So for me, I guess I would like the mechanics to be like okay-ish. I don't care if they work. I'm good with it, and if the story's really good, then I just need the mechanics to just work, and then I could just progress to the story. But if the mechanics are really good, then the story, depending on what kind of game, what kind of genre game it is, then I'll play it a lot then.
So you want more of a balance.
More of a
Okay,
balance.
that makes sense.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we should get into the main topic of today's video, because, like, honestly, it has this type of this kind of implement in the games. It hasn't really been developed yet, at least in console games, and so far some companies are getting flack for it. So right now we're going to be talking about microtransactions in video games. Because two big companies right now, two AAA developers, I don't even know what that means anymore, but that's a definition. Two AAA developers, EA and Warner Brothers, both are getting flack for the way they're using microtransactions in their game. Maybe Destiny 2, but we're not there yet. We don't know how that's implemented yet. So we're just going to focus on those two. So EA came out with NBA 2K18, and everyone is criticizing the way they're using microtransactions. Basically, you're not getting the full game. Even though you paid $60, you're not getting the full game because you're required to get the in-game currency just to do anything with your characters. Because, when you play sports games, you are able to create your character, how it looks, the stats and things like that. But they made microtransactions like the main sort of drive to change your character. So apparently, here's one of the ways. So to get a haircut, if you change the haircut, you can't switch it back. So if you buy a haircut and you don't like it, you have to stick with it until you have enough money to switch the haircut.
You have to pay a second time to switch it back to the thing it was before.
Yes,
That is the
if you
stupidest
don't
thing.
like it, it is dumb.
I'm going to advocate for microtransactions for a minute here. I see the look you're all giving me, so bear with me. I played a lot of MOBAs and a lot of the free-to-play online games that survive because of microtransactions. And I think stuff like that is implemented perfectly. Because it's not stuff you have to be good at the game, but it's stuff you want to have because you want to be cool.
Yeah, skins are just... a skin in a game is just an internet dress-up for dolls.
But if you paid full price for a game, and then they're expecting you to pay more money to do things in that game, I think that's just... That's poor planning, and that's just a cash grab at that point.
Yeah, the key word is free to play. That is honestly my key word. If you are making me pay for a game up front, then I need to get that value of a game. If I'm not getting the $60 value, or you're sort of implementing two things at once, so you're implementing the free-to-play style and the $60 value, they just don't work. So I'm not still getting that full $60 value if I pay for NBA 2K18. I don't know, I just think it's a really insane implementation. I was always a defender of DLC. Everyone I knew hated DLC. Everyone I knew hated it. And I was always the one to defend it because it was always something optional. You never needed to get DLC. You still got your $60 experience, and you could get something on the side as well. But DLC, that's another train wreck that we can get into in the future. But I still defend it. I still defend DLC. Microtransactions in a $60 game, I do not.
I would defend... We're getting into this now. I would defend DLC in games if the game was complete at launch, and I'm looking at you, Destiny 1. Have any of you guys, did either of you, or any of you three play Destiny, the original?
I did play Destiny.
Ricardo's the Destiny guy.
I'm not, okay.
A lot of my friends bought it at launch, and I got into it right around the Taken King, so I got all the DLC for the $60 asking point without getting dragged out over the course of about a year and bled dry for, $120 for all the DLC? To me, that's just astronomical, because when I played it, you kind of have to beat the original game to get through all the DLC, and I'm like, when does the fun start? And all my friends are like, when you beat the base game.
That is insane. Again,
that blew my mind.
DLC has developed into this crazy thing. Well, and honestly, I don't know why. I don't know what game developers are thinking. Well, not game developers. I think it's more the publishers.
Yeah.
I think it's more Warner Brothers trying to sort of milk a franchise. They're trying to everyone's trying to do the Marvel thing, where it's they're trying to milk as much as possible. Just for explanation, okay? Marvel, they have multiple lines of revenue. They have TV shows, they have products, they have things like that. And now these companies are trying to do that with games. Oh, do you want the DLC? Here's the DLC. Oh, do you want the microtransactions? Here's the microtransactions. They're trying to sort of basically cover all their bases in one franchise that might be really, really popular.
I would argue Skylanders and stuff, that's all DLC. You have to buy for your character each
Yeah,
time.
But you know what you're looking at.
Base game. At least you know what you're getting. At least you know what you're getting. That's pretty good.
I would argue, though, with some games, DLC made them even better when they were launched as a complete game, and the DLC was an extension of it. All of the Borderlands DLCs across 1 and 2, well, most of the Borderlands, all of them. I don't know, Borderlands 2 kind of wavered off at the end there with their $5 boss arena things, but
I still like Borderlands 2.
I mean, great game.
Yeah.
I don't know, is the argument if you have a great game, we'll tolerate it? I don't know. I feel like if you have a great game and you release a great DLC, that puts you that much higher up. But things like Call of Duty, where after maybe 3 months, you're not really playing the game if you don't have the map packs.
Well, that's the thing.
A game changes as it continues along.
With Call of Duty, the only reason I bought the DLC was for zombies.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to know what that story was going to be.
Well, I want to ask you guys, because one of the developers, I don't know if it's the developers or publishers, I don't know, but someone from Warner Brothers tried to defend the microtransactions in the games. He was I'm taking a little bit out of context here, but he was basically saying, oh, if you want an advantage in the game, you have the option to do so. and you can use it through. So you have to pay for that advantage. And to me, when I think of like advantage, I'm sort of thinking like easy mode. Easy mode sort of gives you that one up. But I've been playing games for years, and with all the ones that had easy mode, I never had to pay money for easy mode. So I don't know what Warner Brothers is trying to pull a fast one on me, trying to think like, oh, now we have to pay for easy mode, which that sounds insane to me. That sounds like it doesn't even sound like a full game anymore.
No one even likes easy mode. If you can't even play, no one even likes easy mode. But still, like
sometimes
if you're gonna implement it, make it free, man. Don't make it.
You're not a real man if you play on easy.
Yeah. So I just think Warner Brothers is just trying to, distract us. They're really trying to make us accept these microtransactions. And I just don't think it's working. Well, I don't.
Where do you draw the line between a microtransaction and DLC?
DLC is when it adds on top of the game, and you can basically play the entire game, and then the DLC becomes something entirely different.
So DLC is more of an expansion.
Yeah, it's not a part of the main game. It's not. That's my. But again, I do admit microtransactions and DLC they're kind of blurring the line a little bit, and I hate that.
Some people would argue like those smaller $5 DLCs that add like maybe a quest or two is more of a microtransaction than a DLC. I don't know.
I think a DLC is more of an expansion to the game.
Yeah.
A microtransaction is more cosmetic or giving you a boost.
That's what I would consider, but some people do call that DLC.
I would say a DLC is anything that affects how the game plays, whereas a microtransaction would be anything that affects how the game looks. Because if it affects how the game plays, then you want it to have the complete version of that game.
Yeah, but the way EA
But if they're not marketing it that way...
Yeah.
So basically EA's currency is kind of like DLC because it's affecting the way you play the game. Because you kind of need to, like, there was just make some sort of comparison, like compared to using real money, you kind of had to play like 200 NBA games in 2K in order to get like the same value. Like the value just playing the game regularly versus paying the currency is like two completely different experiences.
Well, then what's the point of playing the game at that point?
Yeah, that's that. Unless you're trying to make it free to play, why am I spending $60? What is the point? What value are you giving me as a player if I have to spend more money? You're making me pay $60 to get into an economy I don't have the money for. As a college student, I don't have the money for it. And even if I did, I wouldn't spend it.
I know. I have a friend who's definitely going to be spending way too much money on that 2K game.
Yeah, some people, they do have their fans. Some people are willing to spend that money. And to those people, props to you. If you enjoy playing your games that way, I'm not going to criticize you. I'm not, because why? You can play your game however you want.
But that's why the companies do it, because they know they have this consistent fan base that will put up with it and that'll deal with it. And I'm not trying to disparage anybody that does that. I just mean
that's why
it's a marketing scheme.
That AAA developers are milking their fans because they know they have that dedicated fan base that are willing to spend almost more than $100 on a single game. Some people are that dedicated with like Call of Duty. Some people play nothing but Call of Duty. Like their PS4 is a Call of Duty machine, and if they play games like that, that is completely fine. But these AAA developers know it, and they're essentially trying to take advantage of it. So any last words on anything we talked about at all? Upcoming games, DLC.
I was going to say that brings me into my next topic.
We don't have time for another topic.
All right, next week.
For next week.
Catch it next week, indie games.
Yeah. We got time.
I was going to mention. I was reminded of only one thing. We're not going to probably talk about it, but that level thing where it's like an easy mode kind of thing. That reminded me of what Bethesda's doing with Skyrim Special Edition, and where you got to for the Creation Club, you have to pay for survival mode.
Creation Club. That is something we could get into next week.
Yeah.
That is definite. There's so much in there that we have to develop. We have to talk about Cuphead. If any of you have Cuphead or getting Cuphead, we need to talk about it.
How much is it?
It's $20.
Okay, I'll beat it by next week.
But it's
a pretty hard game.
It's an amazing game. But with that said, I've been Melvin.
I'm Bryce.
Michael.
Ricardo.
And this has been The Way We Play.
And until next time.